All right, sometimes you just want to talk about a cool rifle just because it's cool. So today what I want to talk about is the Mk12 Special Purpose Rifle, adopted by the military in around about 2002. It's one of the coolest rifle programs I think we've ever had in the last couple of decades in the global war on terror and stuff like that. What I have in front of me is a Mk12 Mod O variant. We're going to talk about a couple of the different variants, but this one is the most similar to the Mod O variant. There's something about this one specifically that makes it way more effective than the original Mk12 ever could have hoped to have been. Stick around to the end of the video and you'll find out why. Thank you for joining me again. Let's dive right into what I think is one of the coolest rifles to come out of the global war on terror era, the Mk12 Special Purpose Rifle. Okay, if you're not familiar with the Mk12 rifles, it's a really neat concept, and it's more of a concept than it is a very specific one rifle. It's a variant of rifles. There was a few of them in the line, from the Mk12 Mod O, which is what I have in front of me, to the Mk12 Mod 1 and the Mk12 Mod H. Those are the three most typical models in the Mk12 line issued to the military and used for special warfare purposes, downrange and stuff like that during the early years of the global war on terrorism. So this is definitely something that was designed and originated with the Navy, but it was adopted across multiple services throughout its lifespan in the military. We saw them in the Army, we saw them in the Air Force, and in some very special purpose roles, very limited roles, but definitely the Army started adopting some of these things. And so the Special Purpose Rifle program kind of just originated as, hey, we have all of these rifles sitting on the racks, these AR-15s, M16, whatever you want to call it, M16 variants or M4 variants. But we need a more precise, more accurate platform or way to engage with those platforms in a semi-automatic capacity at intermediate distances. So the max effective range of this is listed on the military's web, from the military information, is listed as 700 meters. So that was the kind of profile that we're looking for this rifle. Like, we need to fill that role in the close quarters range all the way out to intermediate ranges, medium long range, 700 meters or in, with a very precise and specifically designed and engineered rifle platform that we can use in conjunction with stuff we already have on the shelves. So if you've been in the military, you understand the military is all about repurposing sometimes. So the concept originally started with, let's build a more accurized upper receiver to go on our M16s, something we can just slap on a standard battle rifle that's a little more accurate, the barrel itself and the upper receiver and stuff like that. So it started with an 18-inch barrel. You get more range, you get more effective reach out of the 5.56 NATO, and they adopted kind of an accurized barrel style build with the PRI carbon fiber handguard, with the receiver type it has and the bridge it has with this little metal bit right here, this bracket. It kind of accurizes the upper overall. So the concept being like, hey, what can we use or what can we do to just make our rifles that we already have better without having to spend a whole lot of money and re-outfit an entire line of new rifles. So you'll have an 18-inch barrel, rifle length gas system. It's actually machined so that you can take a collar and a brake specifically designed for use with the AEM-5 suppressor. So the mounts and stuff like that this barrel is specifically machined to take are really geared towards one very specific suppressor style, the Mk12 model suppressor, which is also known as the AEM-5. Otter Creek Labs is also making an OCM-5, so a variant or a clone of it basically, and that profile of that silencer in conjunction with the muzzle brake and the collar on the barrel really made this platform repeatable, so far as when you take a suppressor on and off, sometimes you have a shift of impact and stuff like that. So this was designed so that you get maximum accuracy out of this thing, and so when you take your suppressor off or put it back on, you have no point of impact shift for this thing. They're very quiet. If you ever shot a real Mk12 with an OC12 or an AEM-5 on it, they're extremely quiet. They're extremely pleasant shooting rifles, and they are very repeatable. Meaning, like, you can do whatever you want to this thing on off with your suppressor, and you're not going to get a point of impact shift. It's very sturdy and stable way to mount a suppressor. It goes over the barrel, so you actually have some sinkage there onto the barrel, so the barrel goes inside the suppressor, and that shortens the package overall, makes the overall thing a really cool, lighter weight than a standard sniper rifle package. It's suppressed fire accurized for longer distances with the ammo it was shooting. The Mark II 6.2 ammo was also designed kind of in conjunction with this rifle platform to really optimize an upper receiver that you could just slap on any battle rifle and go to town. But as is often the case, when you start fielding a new concept, a new upper receiver concept, like an accurized platform upper receivers for your standard rifle, you find the kinks in the system, or you find where things need to be tweaked to make it a little bit better. So the Mark 12 program actually turned into an overall rifle program. Like the whole rifle, top to bottom, tip to tang, became a thing because there were some drawbacks in just slapping them on standard M4 receivers or standard M16A receivers at the time. You know, the triggers in those things are terrible. So eventually it turned into a complete rifle system though. So instead of just slapping on standard rack grade lower receivers, they took and built out specific receivers, lower and upper, for this rifle platform with upgraded triggers. I think they were using the Geisley triggers, and you know, varying buttstocks. The buttstock wasn't exactly a standard, you know, M16A2 style buttstock was pretty typical for a lot of the Mark 12s, especially in the Mod O category, the Mod O being the earlier variant like this. The Mod O variant is what I have in front of me, and this is not a one-for-one clone. This is a close enough. Because I just like the way it looked. Let's dive into the upper receiver on the Mod O real quick. You have a carbon fiber round handguard. It's about 12.5 inches long, from Precision Reflex. That's who, you know, originally made these parts for the military and stuff like that, and they still make them. You can still get them on their website, and they're super versatile handguards. You can actually move these Picatinny rail sections up and down, bottom, top, left, right, whatever. It mounts to the gun with a pretty standard style barrel nut specific to this actual handguard. It's a little bit of a job to get it on there, but once you get it on, it's a really sturdy handguard. You'd have an 18-inch Douglas barrel, stainless steel, and then you have this bridge up here, this actual aluminum forearm rail. Very complicated name, could not think of it. Forearm rail. So you have this forearm rail that actually bridges between your forearm and your upper receiver, and you can mount your optics on it. And there's a lot of options here. The typical one is about this long. It goes the full length. You'd have your flip up iron sights, both front and rear. Really a specific sight style. I'll cut in some footage here of what they look like. That really made this platform overall, it's, you know, its iconic look. It gave it the look, plus the barrel collar and the very specific muzzle brake on this thing. And then your PRI gas buster charging handle, which was made to be used in conjunction with your suppressor to direct the gases out and down and away. It kept the system cleaner overall, made it function better and that kind of thing. But this bridge right here, the actual rail, actually acts as a rigidifying element. It provides a little bit of rigidity between the handguard and the upper receiver, which translates into the barrel overall. I mean, this system is super accurate from a military perspective, from, you know, the designated marksman perspective. Typically, from what I understand, you were looking for about 1.25 minutes to 1.5 minutes for a semi-automatic sniper style or designated marksman style weapon system for the military. That's actually really good. If any of y'all know anything about the military, again, that's really actually pretty good. Under 1 minute was common, like doing under, you know, shooting under 1 minute groups was very common for this rifle profile, especially with the Mark II 6.2 ammo, the really accurized 77 grain ammo used specifically in this platform. So you got your rail there. I've actually cut this one down. They have a Mod H style upper rail too that is shorter, and the Mod H was a 16-inch variant of this with a little bit different buttstock. So as Master Sergeant in the Army, Special Forces, that kind of thing, you know, those cool guys, they developed for themselves kind of a different profile or style of this same type of rifle, same concept, accurized DMR, special purpose rifle, 16-inch barrel, a little bit shorter handguard, different buttstock, and a smaller rail section on top. You can also add, if you get the shorter rail section, which I cut mine down so because it was just kind of bulky and long, they mount in up here, and I didn't need all this front section here, but they're actually made so that you can use in conjunction with night vision and all those things. I didn't need that. I don't have night vision for mine, so I cut it down, get it out of the way, trim some weight down. There's all manner of options you can put on the rails here and stuff like that for QD mounts and lights and lasers and PECs and all kinds of goofy stuff that people like to, you know, cowboy with. But the weapon system overall is one of my favorite concepts when it comes to a versatile rifle platform made for just about every scenario you could need it in, whether it's in a military setting or whether it's in a civilian setting as a hunter or for self-defense. Even this rifle can fill just about every category, and that's what made it so cool to me. Not just the looks, but the, you know, the categorical use of it is what I fell in love with in the early days. and a lot of people still love about it. Now, there's a lot of variants out there. It's not that it has to have X, Y, or Z to be a Mark 12. The Mark 12 concept, or the special purpose rifle concept, is basically just taking the AR-15 platform and accurizing it in the best way you can. And there's a lot of variants out there of that today. What makes it a lot more iconic looking is the PRI handguards, or even the Knights Armament Mark 12 Mod 1 variant, which was a 4-rail Knights Armament handguard. It was very common. Same overall things, like you got your same iron sights front and back, you got your same collar, and you got your same muzzle brake with the threaded suppressor and stuff like that. So aside from all the cool guy furniture in like the really special triggers and optics and putting an actual magnified optic on this rifle, what is it, let's break down, that makes this specialized weapon platform so unique and accurate, the heart of it, what actually makes it a special purpose rifle? And that is the barrel. Right here, this is the heart of the rifle. This is what kind of started the concept off, or what they were going for, or what you needed to do to turn the M16A2 or the A4 or the M4 or whatever into an actual designated marksman rifle for long range precision. It starts with the heart of a barrel. So it really is all about the barrel when it comes to accuracy. Your platform matters, the receiver matters, the trigger definitely matters, the shooter matters, but the barrel is the heart and soul and the core of what makes a special purpose rifle. Now, the Mark 12 style profile is an 18-inch profile standard. That was the original standard. The Mod H is a 16. You have rifle length gas system. You have a thicker, tapered section behind the gas system that is way thicker than normal, way thicker than the government profile. So you start out nearly, let's see, 8.80 thousandths. You taper down to, at the gas block, you are, should be 750, yep, 750, so 3/4 of an inch to the gas block. And then just forward of that by about, let's see, exactly to the gas block rim, it is 2715. So 2715. So just forward of that, you have your actual collar machined area. So for that actual receiver, or the suppressor collar, you slide on here and you mount to this section here at that little junction, and that's what holds your collar. And then you have your muzzle brake threaded on a 1/2 by 28 thread, and that allows you to actually sink the suppressor over the muzzle and down onto the barrel, onto that collar, providing a perfectly concentric and centered and accurate platform for your suppressor to mount to, so you get no point of impact shift. So this SPR profile barrel is very, very specific. It's a very specifically machined profile and distances in the whole 9 yards. And that's what makes the difference in this rifle, not just from an accuracy perspective, because you have a thicker barrel, which it is. It's definitely thicker than a standard AR-15 barrel or M16, whatever you want to call it. Now, if you're in service rifle competition in those kind of circles, an H-bar profile or a thicker profile barrel like this is pretty common. But the SPR profile was designed specifically for Crane Division to these specifications to work in conjunction with that Ops Inc. 12, Model 12, or AEM5 as it is known once Allen Engineering took over, suppressor. And it's a very specific suppressor type. It's very rugged, it's very repeatable, and it makes this package overall extremely dangerously deadly and accurate and quiet. The actual sound suppression is pretty high on those things. The way the suppressors are built, they're not the lightest thing in the world. They're not as Gucci whiz bang as all the new stuff out there. It's kind of an older model style suppressor, but they do work really, really well, and they work very specifically with this barrel profile. So if you're looking to, this is actually a 224 Valkyrie barrel that I had custom made for me by White Oak Armament. They make some really premium stuff, and I had to make me some custom barrel profiles. I was actually trying out a couple different gas lengths, so still have my SPR profile as far as the collar and the muzzle device would go. With the suppressor, everything would work just fine there, but this one has a rifle -1 gas system for dwell time with the 224 Valkyrie. It was a concept we were testing out. It was a theory to see if it would work better so far as operation and cycling and stuff like that. Given the newness of the 224 Valkyrie, there was a lot of unknowns and a lot of unknown variables at the time. So tried out a barrel with a rifle -1 gas block, so less than 1 inch less gas block. So it's not exactly a mid, it's not a rifle, it's kind of in the middle. And it worked really well. I have several of these barrels left, or a couple of them left. Some new ones too. It actually worked really well for the 224 Valkyrie, this gas length profile. The one problem with it is it required a custom gas tube, which I did get from White Oak. He supplied with them, so it was not a big deal on that end. but it worked just fine. Accuracy wise, they were great. Their white oak armament barrels are fantastic. They make a lot of SPR profile barrels. They're not offering them in the Valkyrie. I don't think they're offering 6 arc. I don't think I ever will. But if you're looking for a 5.56, you can either get from, you can get Criterion barrels, you can get the Douglas barrels, I believe you can still get from PRI, and the white oak definitely makes an SPR profile barrel that is to die for. These things are amazingly accurate, true to spec, and all those good things, and they are chambered for your standard 5.56, and I think you can get them in 1 in 7 or 1 in 8 twist. Now the original SPR was a 1 in 7 twist from what I understand, and it worked better with the Mark 262 ammo by Black Hills, the military spec, you know, sniper ammo for the Mark 12 program with the 77 grain OTM. It's very good ammo. It's very good. If you can find that stuff and get your hands on it, the actual Mark 12 Mod 262 ammo, it's very accurate stuff. I really like it. I've shot some of it in the past. It's not easy to get and it's very expensive though. But this is it. This is your heart and soul and the core of what actually makes the Mark 12 different. Is the barrel. The profile is very specific, cut very specifically, and just about every major manufacturer out there that makes barrels for the AR-15 makes an SPR profile barrel. You can get them in all kinds of flavors now. You can get them in all kinds of calibers. You can get them from all the different manufacturers. And just so long as they are machined to that spec and they'll fit the collar, and you know, 1/2 x 28 threads, pretty standard, you got yourself a Mark 12 barrel. You can do your own Mark 12 build. Make something super cool, guy, for yourself. The rest of the Mark 12 really is just furniture. So far as handguards, you know, you got your Mod 1s or your Gen 1 and 2 Mod O handguards, the carbon fiber handguards. You got your Knights Armament, the newer stuff. I think they just kind of upgraded to what they found to be a better, you know, handguard from the military overall a little later in the program. And then you have your trigger options with Geisley. I believe was a 2-stage trigger from Geisley they were using originally, which makes a fantastic trigger. There's a lot of options out there now for triggers in the AR-15, so pick your flavor there. The upper and lower receiver were pretty standard mil-spec upper and lower receivers. This one is actually, see the little square right there? I can't remember the name of the forge that makes these. I lost the lore, I guess you could say, of that. But that is actually pretty standard of what they would use. I did buy this receiver specifically because it was a Mark 12 receiver, one of the original style using. And the lower receiver is just an Aero Precision. You can find them on PRI. Again, you can get the upper and lower receivers. You can complete rifles, the whole 9 yards. And you can get all the furniture as you see here. The optic varied depending on the unit. The Naval Special Warfare Surface Division, whatever, they use loopholes from what I understand. But if you look at the inventories of the Army and stuff like that, a lot of the programs and a lot of the units would actually just use what they had their hands on in those days for their precision programs. They would slap what they could on there, or they'd buy stuff from Loophole or whoever the current government contract was with. So there's variances in the optics, but the heart and soul of it is the barrel, the trigger, and the rest is furniture. The Mark 12 is had a lot of iterations. It's had a lot of variations over the years, but this, I think the Mark 12 Mod O is the most iconic. There's actually a couple different versions of this PRI handguard as well, some that have more of a flush fit barrel nut there and stuff like that, and then this standard kind of this common looking one that you would see a lot. There's a lot to do with this rifle. There's a lot you can do with a rifle like this. That's what I love about it. You can make it so versatile. You can make it user adaptable, but it is geared towards accuracy and longer range and precision. That's what I love about the concept. It's not just a standard battle rifle. It's not just a standard carbine. It's not just a rack grade anything. It's an accurized version of that, trying to tweak and turn it into the most potent rifle weapon system that the military could, is really what they were going for. It was the most versatile, easy to use, and easy to carry as well. So fast forward to today, it is an older weapons style platform. There's a lot more of industry change that's gone on out there, a lot more growth in the industry in the AR-15s and semi-automatic platforms since then. And one of the biggest points of growth in this system overall, which I personally have adopted in my rifle, is the caliber. So this is what makes this a little bit special. Now, optics aside too, like this is just a fixed 10 power optic. The Loophole Mark 3 or 4 or something like that was pretty common for the Mark 12s at the time. But the caliber is what makes this specific rifle, and the ones I've built in the last few years, way more capable than the original Mark 12s ever were. This one is chambered in 6mm arc. If you hadn't guessed it already, some of you probably have if you know me, you know my channel. This one is chambered in 6mm arc. So it takes this rifle in an 18-inch barrel, semi-automatic platform, which is well capable of sub-minute. I get generally on average about 3/4 minute with this rifle and this barrel specifically that I've been using this one for a while. It takes this thing and turns it into a 1,000-yard rifle. like a true 1,000-yard rifle out of an 18-inch barreled semi-automatic platform. That's an amazing thing. Back in the day, at the beginning, early years of the Mark 12 program, the 5.56 was the standard. That's what they went with. That's what the military has, and that's what the military fielded. Since then, I've heard in the bushes, you know, through the grapevine, that the newer version of the Mark 12, which is actually being made by Barrett, the concept, the context rifle being made by Barrett, is being fielded in the 6-ARC, and that's what the 6-ARC was designed for. So that's cool. So let's just call it a unit in the military, or a military adjacent unit. Fast forwarding, you know, 2 decades into the war, said, hey, we like the concept, we like the size and the shape and the overall idea of this rifle, but we need a little something extra out of the caliber. So Hornady went ahead and designed the 6mm ARC for that specific category of use, launched it to the civilian market, and it's kind of taken off like wildfire since then. And I love it in this platform. It actually turns this thing into a 1,000-yard rifle. It makes it a good hunting gun. Overall, I've hunted with this one. It turns it into a great overall package that really maximizes and squeezes everything you can get out of a rifle like this. Some other options you might want to think about too: 6.5 Grendel. It would make a great, you know, addition to this type of platform, the Mark 12 platform. 224 Valkyrie, which I did have this originally as a 224 Valkyrie, and I shot a lot of rounds to it, and it was a very, very capable rifle out to extreme distances. So it doesn't have quite the meat on it that a 6-ARC does, but it's got the reach. So you got similar reach, a little less meat. Target rifle wise, it'd be a great target rifle. If I were shooting something like PRS in the semi-automatic gas division, you know, that kind of thing, I'd probably shoot a rifle very similar to this, if not just this rifle, because this one is really, really accurate. So setting all the lore aside and all the specifics and technicalities that everybody likes to break down and get kind of hung up on with the Mark 12, I would like to build an actual clone Mark 12 one day with the right optic and the right everything going on, such and such, and the right receivers, upper and lower type of receivers from where they used to get them from, and all the whole 9 yards. I'm going to build one eventually, and it's definitely going to be a 6-ARC or something along those lines. Maybe even a 22 ARC. May try one out. I don't know. I got a 224 Valkyrie and a ton of ammo for it, and tons of barrels still, so I don't really know why I'd waste time with a 22 Creedmoor or 22 ARC. I think a 6 Max in this, something like this, would be really cool too. You could do a lot with this gun in a 6 Max. Shoot maybe slightly smaller bullets, you know, that 90 to 95 grain rate. Weight class, you get some really good velocities, and you may even come close to being a 1,000-yard gun with it. Maybe not quite as easy as you would with a 6-ARC shooting the 108s and 107s, but pretty darn close. So it's a cool program. It's a cool rifle. I love talking about this rifle. I love shooting this rifle. I love talking to people about this rifle. If you have any experiences with Mark 12, you've thought about building your own, y'all know how the internet works. Finding the parts and pieces for this kind of thing to do your actual clone build is not super hard. You can actually get some complete uppers from Precision Reflex Inc. You can actually get the upper receivers, you can get full rifles, you can get all kinds of stuff. I can't really say where to go, but you know how the internet works, so this shouldn't be hard. If you want to build your own clone, buy your own clone, that kind of thing. If you just want to buy the pieces and put yourself together a really, really stanky, you know, long range or hunting rig with a 6-ARC or something similar to that, 6.5 Grendel, whatever, I would highly recommend it. And I need to swap the collar out on this. I need to get a collar and an actual brake on this thing, and I still have never put one on here. I don't know why after all these years, because it just looks cooler. At the end of the day, that's what we're all about. If it don't look cool, we don't need it. All right, thank you for joining me again. What do you think about the Mark 12? Is it a rifle you've ever considered or looked at or researched or even thought about buying or building? I would highly recommend it. Thank you all for joining me again today. Be blessed and stay sharp.